and you don't want to hear me either. But hello, guys. So my name is Jennifer Strother. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. I have never put these three topics together in a webinar, and we'll let you know a little bit of why and why I'm so excited to do it, just to get things kicked off. So let me get everybody into the room. Sorry, I came back to Zoom and saw people there. So great. Okay, so I've got some people on Zoom and I'm super excited for that. These videos are also going to be live in the Facebook group for 2 weeks. Okay, that's going to give you time to play catch up. I know how busy it can be as a busy mom, and then also juggling our own health conditions, but I want this to bring awareness to where you are and what you're experiencing, and I also want it to generate some amazing questions. So let's hop on calls throughout this time together. I will include my link at the end of every day, just so you can hop on a call and we can address your questions. You're welcome to email me at jennifer@thrivewellsolutions.com, and I am ready to get started. So this topic, honestly, all three are a huge part of my story. And I have not done a webinar with all three of them together. So I know I have a lot of current members, past members, as well as new people here. And so even my membership ladies and men, and I know this is busy moms, but hello, us women bring our families to the table because we want the best in health and wellness for everyone, right? So I don't want you to think I do not serve men. Some of my first clients were men, and I probably shouldn't say this, but it was because they were having some horrible reactions to a vaccine that was being given during the time of the pandemic. And pros and cons to everything. And let me just tell you, I'm not here to say what's best for you. I'm here to educate. So there were a lot of reactions being had at that point. And if you go back and look at COVID in general, whether it was a vaccine, whether it was the illness, it has amplified the mast cell activation world. Okay. But I do have a child that was diagnosed with both celiac and mast cell as we were fighting some horrendous autoimmune conditions. And I also have my thoughts that I will share with you throughout this week as to what legitimately should have been diagnosed. Yes, celiac disease, that diagnosis, I don't know if it confused us or set us on a path for success, but a lot of times it can set people on a path where you think you just need to eliminate gluten and then you don't get better. So it's a point of frustration. And so you can always look at every piece of information as a winning piece of information, as a wonderful piece of your story, but don't stop looking. Okay. So I say that to say that you may be here today and you may have removed gluten after a celiac diagnosis, and you may be saying that did nothing for me. And I just want to say, I'm sorry, we were in the same situation. Okay. And you may say that you've done a food sensitivity test and that you've done an elimination diet and it did nothing for you. And I'm here to tell you again, I'm sorry, that can happen. Yes, because there's so many cross-reactive factors and there's underlying factors. Okay. So I like to get to the root of what's going on in your body. I like to uncover where things started. That's why I love testing like for Candida and SIBO, because if Candida and SIBO and leaky gut exist in your body and you're doing this food elimination diet and bringing in a lot of food that is just supplementing where you were, your body's still going to be in an overreactive, immune reactive state. So it's not going to get better. We've got to learn to slow down and heal the body, but we also need to learn that we cannot stop asking, why is this happening? And where is this coming from? Like the where, why, and the how. And then how am I going to improve this? So I'll give you a little bit of background, and I really want to thank you all for coming because this week is going to be super powerful. If you can't tell, I'm excited. And when I get excited, I truly I over deliver, because I just get so intensely involved, and I get wrapped around the topics to a point that I just love the communicating. But if I seem over anxious about it or over like the top, I'm so sorry. You can tell me, call me and be like, hey, I love that topic, but let's tone it down and bring it, back to me. Let's bring it back to April. Let's bring it back to Shauna. Let's make it like relatable to each and every person here. So put in the comments down below, either in Zoom, if you're in Zoom, or in the comments of the group, and let me know what brought you here. Are there things that you feel openly to discuss, and you may not, and that's perfectly fine. This is all a health and wellness journey. And I know in health and wellness, sometimes we want to be private about what's going on, but this is also a community where we like to share, right? We want to get out there. We want to share. We want to say, hey, this helped me. For instance, I did about 10 minutes ago, and did a real quick protein packed chia seed pudding to give my body some fast energy. And I was like, well, that was stupid. Now I got to go brush my teeth. Okay. So we can help each other learn like what it is that we're finding as those fast protein packed solutions or snack ideas, because I know a lot of people yesterday commented on in the pre-workshop activities. You come and you're like, I need to know what to eat on the go. Like you're eating the same thing over and over and over. And like I said a few minutes ago, if you're just supplementing without healing the immune system, without healing that leaky gut, without healing candida, healing SIBO, whatever it may be, the chemical disruptors, the inflammation, we're going to talk about that a little bit today as we understand autoimmune conditions. And guys, it doesn't matter if you're here for blood pressure and cholesterol because your liver is saturated with chemicals and overreactive or has too much estrogen. Too much estrogen can lead to a flare in mast cells, which can lead to a flare in histamines, which can lead to a flare in allergic reactions. So we have to look at the whole system. So it doesn't matter if it's liver, if it's hormones, if it's celiac, if it's allergies, or if you're here to learn more about mast cell and that connection with celiac disease, which is very evident in the title. I want you to stay involved, because when we talk about detoxification and when we talk about chemical reactors and the overabundance of chemicals in our body that is not allowing our body to detox well, you can put any system on that blank line and we're talking about you. Okay. And I want to bring that home. So first of all, I want to talk to you and just say that when we look at those health conditions and the dietary implications of our body, we have to look at the whole system for better management. Okay. Why am I here? Okay. I was the child back in the 90s that went to nursing school, and I was the one on the floor all the time fainting. Okay. I have a very, very sensitive sympathetic nervous system. I'm so sympathetic to the person hurting that when someone starts to hurt near me, I'm like, woo, I can see blood. I can see all the things. So I thought I would be fine. It was more of that response. My daughter, come full circle, who is now 14, several years ago was diagnosed with POTS. All right. Same thing. That heart rate drops, buddy. I mean, the blood sugar, the heart rate, everything drops. We are significantly sensitive to stumping our toe and hitting the floor. Okay. So, she's even like fallen and given herself a concussion. I know I can laugh at it now. At the time, it was really scary. But all of that comes full circle when we learn that even the Z-Pack, okay, something that's given so many times for viruses and illnesses, have things in there that can cause a negative reaction. Even for mast cell or for allergies, if it's been recommended for you to take something like Singular or Zyrtec or those, all the histamine blockers, they have stuff in there that can react, your body can react negatively to. So it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul and getting nowhere. And then it leads you to the point of frustration. So better management is what I like to look at. I actually left the nursing field because I was on the floor so much, and my husband was in the military, and I knew I would never work myself out of night shift, right? I'd have been the low person on the totem pole the whole time. Went back and got my MBA, and then later went and got my functional nutrition certification and specialized in gut health and now blood work. Okay. So I like to, I love data. I love data. I love numbers. I love data. I could have definitely been the engineer. I'm in an engineer community where I live. Lots of people around me working for the defense contractors. And so I've worked a lot with people who I would say are borderline autistic, okay? And I do not like labels. That's why I pause, deep breath, right? But I want you to know who I'm talking about. I have two precious boys that came to me with severe brain fog. Could not fathom the ideas of school and the whole bit, and they're excelling. One just finished an internship over in Georgia at one of the most astounding contractors in the world for aerospace engineering, and has just excelled in every mark. And he still to this day sends me text messages and screenshots of all his awards and his accolations and all the things that he's excelling at. And I was like, hey, what about that brain fog? And he goes, it's the least of my worries right now. Okay. So I love managing and helping you better manage your dietary implications and your conditions, so you can look at risk management factors. And I say that seriously, guys. Everything that goes in your mouth, everything that is surrounding your body and your environment is a risk factor. Okay. It's either going to provide good help and health, or it's going to hurt your body. So what is the risk behind what you're currently doing? Okay. I'm sitting here in a small office and I have two choices to make. I could easily have plugins over there because I love aromatherapy. I love fragrance. And I hate fragrance now. Just because I can smell the chemicals in it now. But I used to be that person. I used to love candles. I used to love the plugins. I used to love all the things. And the other choice I have, and it's over there on my table. It used to be on the table behind me, is to have a diffuser, right? Where I can have plant-based natural products. So we have choices, and I want to teach you how to better manage those choices. I had a lady come to me maybe a year ago, and trying to get pregnant. And when we went through that detoxification lesson of the program and talked about plugins, something that I don't even consider to be like a huge topic of conversation because I feel like it's been all over the internet. But she still had them, and she was surprised. She was surprised by the conversations that the plugins could interfere with her estrogen levels and her husband's testosterone levels. Like, hello, and I don't mean to say it that way, but I felt like it had been everywhere. So I love to go through all of the things and help you understand that there is risk that you can mitigate by looking for better management skills of your body. So an autoimmune condition is that condition where the immune system mistakenly targets and attacks healthy cells and tissues. Okay, so some examples of immune conditions where you may have those warning signs are rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis. We've got fibromyalgia. We've got all of these conditions where the immune system is targeting the healthy cells and tissues. So when we look at mast cell is that situation where the mast cells are part of the immune system. Okay, so that negative effect on the immune system, and mast cells are packed with inflammatory chemicals that cause allergy symptoms. Okay, they're typically released. So if you have and it goes all the way back to tracking this from the bone marrow of the body. That's why one particular mast cell condition is that of leukemia. And part of my story, guys, is that I grew up with a mother who fought cancer for 35 years. Now, I'm extremely blessed that she fought it for 35 years. And I'm extremely blessed that she saw me graduate from high school, because I was 4 when this journey started. So I grew up in a home where we were constantly looking at health and wellness. We were constantly looking outside of that box of chemotherapy and da 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 da. Now, I'm not saying she didn't take chemo here and there, but if there were 10 drugs on the list that they were going to give her, she might choose 4 that she felt were the ones that needed to get her on the path to success, and she could supplement those other 6 with something natural. She's actually the one that got me into essential oils, because she had read an article on sacred frankincense years ago, you know. So I was so blessed to have that. But when my child was diagnosed with mast cell and I Googled it, the first thing I saw was leukemia. If you can only imagine the stress and anxiety that went over my body, because I was like, no, we cannot do this again. But it does start with the bone marrow, and it starts with that release of inflammatory chemicals that come and give you that what mimics an allergy response. Now, look at those 2 words that I've said here, inflammatory chemicals. 2 huge parts of my program, and 2 things that I don't feel should ever be underestimated in the body, is that inflammation and the chemical response. Okay, we've got to quiet them both. Now, as I take that conversation full circle with candles and plug-ins and all, looking at the ways that we can detox our body in our home, and those are just on the surface top, like just do it. So we talk about chemicals, but there's so many chemicals that come in from our food. There's chemicals responses that happen when our body's under stress. There's chemical responses that are elevated when our estrogen levels are elevated. And we look at this as a whole big picture. So one client came to me, he was older, and he had gone through a lot of stress of owning his own business. And through that situation, had an allergic reaction to shellfish. And at that point, he started getting rashes, and he couldn't get out of bed, and one thing led to another. So it can develop later on in life, but it is typically a genetic problem with allergies and joint problems. You know, even overly flexible joints is one of those signs. Now, I talked about some autoimmune conditions, and autoimmune conditions that are directly related with mast cell are rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, and MS. So keep in mind that a stressful event can, contribute to that. I also have a friend of mine who is extremely high in her nursing career, and she can pretty much track her autoimmune conditions back to, the onset of that during nursing school. It's an extremely stressful career path. And then also the immunizations that she received during nursing school, having so many at one time, and her body just not responding very well to that. Some people can get every single vaccine in the world and it seems to not bother them. Okay, so I want you to know that it's a very individualized decision, and I always share my opinion and my experience if people ask, but I'll also always bring it back to a very individualized situation. So mast cells are important regulators in autoimmune and also cancer development. Okay, so when I found this hereditary issue that has gone through, that my children both tested positive for, going through myself, and I'm looking at my mother, having gone through a cancer battle for 35 years, that in hereditary situation is something that you just do not want to ignore. So again, I would love to hear if any of this is triggering some thoughts, some processes that may be going on in your head, especially when it comes to complexity. Okay, and you may be like, this is way, way deep. But yes, your situation, it's probably deep too, or you wouldn't be here. Oftentimes my clients have jumped from doctor to doctor to doctor for answers and gotten nowhere. And the situation is deep when our conversation starts, but that's okay, because y'all, I am a believer 100%, and I want to bring hope to the table that our bodies were created for 100% goodness and healing. Okay, so we have to just get to the root cause, and I don't stop. Like, I just don't want to stop believing that as long as we can educate ourselves as to what's going on, there is never a time to give up. Even when my mother lost her battle to cancer, it was a tumor had gotten into the area of her colon, and she ended up having to have an ileostomy bag, and that is a little bit higher in the digestive process than the colonoscopy that a lot of people that is more common. And she had a horrible time absorbing nutrients. Okay, hello, with inflammation in our bodies as well, we don't absorb nutrients. I don't want to use her situation to lead into other things, but nutrient absorption is critical. And even like as she was passing away, she said, please don't think I died from cancer. Cancer did not kill me. And I said, I know, Mom, we're having a really hard time getting your body to absorb nutrients. So she just wanted us to know that. But it was so funny because she just wanted to win that battle. And that's how I am. We are going to win this battle. So whether it's a wide array of symptoms that you are experiencing, or it could simply be acne, it could simply be an upset stomach, it could be headaches, whatever it is, we want to look at what is causing it. Now, mast cell does cause skin reactions, abdominal pain, fatigue, allergic reactions, but it can also cause chronic illness. And it can lead to, mast cell being complicated for individuals with autoimmune conditions and celiac because of its role in inflammation and the immune system dysregulation. Okay, so sometimes we've got, one ball coming at us in one direction and one in another. Mast cell contributes to inflammation and has those pro-inflammatory chemicals that are histamine in nature, which triggers inflammation in various parts of the body system. Now, I had talked about joints, and yes, your joints are one of those areas where if they're overly inflamed, they get loose, they get very painful. As that material around the joint starts to harden, we get lots and lots of pain. And chronic inflammation can definitely exacerbate those symptoms and worsen the health outcomes of any autoimmune condition in celiac. Okay, so if you've been diagnosed with celiac, number one, say thank you, Jesus, because you have gotten the number one warning sign. Okay, so anytime there's a lab result, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you've got celiac, your tryptase levels are high, which tryptase is one of those markers that is commonly related to mast cell. Instead of dwelling on it and reaching a point of sadness, let me help you with your mindset and say, thank you, Jesus. This is one more warning sign. I will take note of this and use this to the best of my abilities to educate myself on how to improve my situation. All right. And that's just the way I am about it. Some of you may say, gosh, she's crazy, but let me see if I have any comments. I don't know. I've been telling y'all to put comments in there and then I just keep on talking. But I really want to encourage you to have a positive outlook for change. Okay, positive outlook for change. All right, so celiac disease, again, is an autoimmune condition. Okay, it's triggered by gluten consumption, and it leads to damage to the small intestines. Now, key components of celiac disease are celiac intolerance, gastrointestinal symptoms, and long-term health consequences. I want to tell you though that even with a celiac diagnosis, ask yourself, how did I get here? Okay, that is another question I want to encourage you with this week. How did I get here? Because that celiac diagnosis didn't happen overnight. And more so than not, I see people develop a gluten sensitivity, develop a gluten intolerance, or develop celiac disease. It's not something they were born with, because guy at church ate gluten for 40 plus years, and was having horrible digestive issues, and then was diagnosed with celiac disease. Okay. My son had horrible health issues, stemming from, like, he had a vaccine reaction, horrible allergies, horrible RSV, horrible wheezing, diagnosed with reflux. I mean, I can just tell you from baby up, I mean, it was a challenge, right? Got sick easier than most. If he did get a cold, it was at least 2 weeks before that baby could breathe again. And that gluten diagnosis, or celiac diagnosis, did nothing for us. I mean, absolutely nothing. Okay, let me go back to the definition of celiac disease. In that definition, it says damage to the small intestines. Okay, did the damage to his small intestines occur from taking reflux medication, getting a parasite, vaccine reactions, the damage of the gut health and the dysbiosis, the candida, the bacteria, all the things in his gut that were completely wrecked? Yes, damage to the small intestines had happened. Also, a misdiagnosis of some big allergy symptoms such as egg and corn that continue to disrupt his gut, continue to cause inflammation of the body. So another key component of celiac disease is gastrointestinal symptoms. Now, I don't want to discourage you. If you have been diagnosed with celiac disease, especially by blood, then that response is pretty extreme. If it is a inflammatory celiac diagnosis and diagnosed through a scope, I really want you to say, are there other factors that led to the damage of my small intestines and the gastrointestinal symptoms? Okay, because once those two things exist, your body and your immune system is over triggering, over firing, and you can be in a state of unhealthy immune attack anyway. Okay, so I don't want to discourage anyone that's having success. And I'm not a huge person of whether you've got celiac or not. Y'all know I'm not a huge lover of gluten because of all the things that it does in our body, because of the processing, because of the chemicals, because of what it takes for our body to digest that. I've also had some comments in our workshop activities that make me want to start looking, throughout the week, talk about other reactions to foods in the body. So, one person in the pre-workshop activities listed a ton of fruits and vegetables that they were also extremely reactive to. And, that gastrointestinal health and that holistic mindset of that, we've got to look at enzymes. Does our body have the enzymes to break down what we put in it? Now, from a fruit and a vegetable standpoint, it should, but it may not, okay, because there's damage that has occurred. I know for a while, we had to avoid lectins, and lectins is one of those food groups. I've already mentioned histamines. So there's a lot of different food groups that can cause this immune reactive state that if we remove them and calm the immune response, we can get to a state of health. So I would love to know if you feel like MCAS is interacting with your autoimmune conditions at all. If you feel that they're interacting with celiac disease. Discuss, I'd love for you to, put down in the comments and discuss how, your body is being triggered by inflammation. What are those signs and symptoms that you feel that you're having to explore right now? What are you having to recognize as those warning signs, not detrimental to your overall, world? Now, your health in general right now may be at a point. I'm getting a list up that I wanted to share with you guys. Let me see, I don't know, of health conditions, but it can seem very chronic at times. So not just the skin reactions and the itching and skin flushing, so definitely more red under specific activities, but this can lead to anxiety and depression. Let me stop there. Okay, this can be so confusing that without community and without help, you are often told it's all in your head, because it's hard to diagnose these. Yet 3 to 7% of our population has a tryptase level that can confirm mast cell reactions. Okay, that's pretty large. And even a larger amount of our population, an extreme amount of our populations, has autoimmune conditions. Okay, so it is not in your head. What you are going through is real, even if it's real to you and it's hard for others to diagnose and get down to the root of that. Irritable bowel syndrome is often what I call a diagnosis of exclusion, because they don't know what's going on. They diagnose you with something. And honestly, I feel like celiac disease, the inflammatory celiac, can be the exact same thing. There's inflammation in your body. There's inflammation of the duodenum. How many people of you have heard that? Inflammation of the duodenum. So we're going to diagnose you with celiac disease. Well, what caused that inflammation of the duodenum? What can you actually eat? We've got, I love getting down to the root of that so you can remove that inflammation. But all of this leads to chronic fatigue, feeling faint, feeling dizzy, chronic pain. And then in your bones and your joints, too much flexibility, not enough flexibility, scoliosis. And, another sign of it is your baby teeth don't fall out. How many people of y'all had to take your child to the dentist because the teeth just don't come out? So all those little bitty signs and symptoms that we don't ever think of. All right, so post in the bottom your questions. While you're doing that, I am going to go through and talk about the agenda for the rest of the week. Now, many of you have given me ideas completely, and I love it. Okay, I love it. I'm changing the agenda to touch on everything that you put in those pre-workshop activities, because you were here, you're spending your time, and I will give you the value that you're looking for. I'm going to be honest with you, I did not have on the go meal planning on the agenda, but it is now. Okay, so you put in there what it is you're looking for. I'm going to talk about enzymes because of some of the posts that have been in those pre-workshop activities. I'm going to talk about how you can enhance your skin conditions, your gastrointestinal symptoms, your respiratory symptoms, even cardiovascular symptoms, all right, like low blood pressure, palpitations, rapid heartbeat, tachycardia related to these conditions, neurological headaches and migraines and brain fog. I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about dear clients of mine that I love hearing from them. They send me text messages, tell me how good they're doing, and I just smile. It just makes me so happy. We're also going to talk about cross-reactive factors to gluten. Okay, it's not in your head, but there are a lot of foods that have molecular mimicry. They molecularly mimic that of the gluten protein. Okay, if they're still causing inflammation in your body, it's hard to reach success. Do not give up. Keep digging. Okay. So if you're like, people are like, oh, I removed gluten, I didn't feel any better. So I just started eating it again. I'm like, oh, no. You know why? Because I've talked about the inflammatory conditions, the chemical mediators in our body, and how they can lead to chronic illness of, even arthritis, but I still feel like that's a little bit reversible. But, you know, nobody wants to wake up tomorrow and go to the doctor and say, hey, you've got cancer. Your cells are completely toxic. They're no longer healthy. They, you know, we have to pay attention, right? And these are all the, you know, reasons I love to do this, is to reduce inflammation in the body, live as healthy as possible, and try not to let those situations happen to our family. But that molecular mimicry of those proteins is something that we are going to highlight as we talk about different ingredients that we need to be highly aware of. Okay, the one thing I also want to talk about are chemicals in our food. So glyphosates. Did your condition start because you're overly sensitive to glyphosates? You know, again, we keep asking these questions. Where did this begin? How did I get here? I know we did a scan of my son's body, and there was a buildup of glyphosate in his small intestines. Therefore, there's a lot of food that could continue to react negatively in his body if we had continued to give him those foods, even though the diagnosis was celiac disease and mast cell. Some of those, such as, you know, it's wheat, it's oats, barley, corn, soy. He still is extremely reactive to soy. But I will tell you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We had 24 food sensitivities that were causing inflammation in the body, inflammatory reactions in the body, and 5 IgEs where they tell you not to eat them or you're going to go to the emergency room at anaphylaxis. Well, first of all, he's never gone into anaphylaxis, knock on wood, because of detox measures. We hit it fast. As soon as I see the nose turn red, the eyes start to water, and as soon as he tells me his throat's itchy, we go into extreme detox measures, and you can too. And I was about to say something on that, but I still see a negative reaction to soy in his body, even though we have cleared those responses, and the doctors are like, you are clear, you're in the good, we don't know how you did this, but awesome. And I can tell you all, gut health is extremely important from a comprehensive, holistic viewpoint. Removing the foods that are causing problems in your body, repairing your gut, at the same time bringing in and at that point of repair, bringing in any foods that have not been absorbing in your body, any nutrients. What are you lacking? A lot of times today we hear about macronutrients. I want you to focus just as much on micronutrients and if those micronutrients are absorbing. Okay, and then we've got to reintroduce the foods because we need the immune system to change their response. That process is so important. And then find that balance for you so you can live that life. Many of you responded and said, hey, I want to know how to eat out. Well, you may not be able to eat out 5 days a week. I'm just going to tell you, you know, so that may not be a realistic viewpoint, because there's really not that many healthy things out there. But I'm going to give you some apps. I'm going to give you phone apps. I'm going to tell you how to start looking for food when you are put in that position of needing to find something. And even stuff that you can stop and buy at the grocery store when we think we have to have that meal, that solution. Okay, so it's going to be a full agenda, guys. It's going to be full agenda. I will tell you tomorrow, Tuesday, is going to be this exact same time, 12 o'clock. So is Thursday and Friday, 12 o'clock. Saturday morning, I have a bonus for you. Now, Wednesday, I do need to pivot. If those of you that have followed me for a few weeks, or those of you that are current clients know my husband had surgery, and Wednesday, I am going to pivot, and I will post in the chat what time our workshop will be on Wednesday. I'm thinking noon. Y'all can let me know what time works for you best. If it's early in the morning, it's going to be around 7:30, 8 o'clock. If it is probably around 7:30, if I do a morning workshop. If I do it in the evening on Wednesday, it would be around 4:30. So some of you that are working and not able, having a hard time catching these live, I want to be able to, pivot on Wednesday and support you, and maybe you can catch something live. So 7:30 a.m. or 4:30 p.m. and I will see you guys at that time on Wednesday. But tomorrow at 12 noon Central Standard Time, we're going to dig in deep on those ingredients and how to help your body from a standpoint. So hope this was helpful. I look forward to this workshop. I love the energy already with people live and in the Facebook group, and I will see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.